So you came here in 2010, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so what was the state of Douglas when you arrived in 2010, 4 years after it had become Douglas Residential
Right.
College?
I think that the college was being very well run. The programs were great. The administration was great. But I think that at the same time there was tremendous uncertainty about what we would become, whether we would find our niche within Rutgers and basically our mojo. Like where would the students come from? What are they looking for? What will our relationship to Rutgers be? All of that had to be renegotiated. The staff had just been through a trauma because of, a lot of people left, a lot of offices were closed. So I think there was excitement because the programs, it was smaller, it was new, but the programs were still running, and the passion among the staff members who were here was tremendous. So there was never, a crack there was never any way in which the mission and the passion deteriorated, but there was uncertainty and some fear. Of course, having a new boss is scary in itself.
And were you here to do the bidding of Rutgers?
Right, that's right. So and I was very much, and I think this position, this first dean's position, is very much, everybody's looking from multiple vantage points. Am I doing the bidding of the administration? Am I too much Rutgers? Am I too little Rutgers? Right? Is Douglas integrating, becoming part of Rutgers? Are we losing our identity? Are we still a feminist institution if we have a dean who makes decisions beyond what a consensus might generate, right? So there were all these questions that were both that were based on the historic moment, that are based on women's feminist institutions, that were based on the larger question of women's education and will it survive and do we still need it? So it was a real interesting moment. And I just came because Douglas and all the units at IWL and I've known about, I published my first book here. Rutgers was the place to go for women's education and scholarship. So, it was a tough go because of the institutional changes at the time.
So how would you say you steered your way through those conflicting, all those currents?
Yeah, there are a lot of currents. I have very good advisors, both within Douglas and within my colleagues at the university. Barry Qualls, Greg Jackson, they were both my bosses and were, very astute institutionally and had a real passion. And of course I have colleagues around the country. Despite, the one thing that always held and still holds is a deep commitment and passion for this college at this university. From the student level through the faculty level, through the administration. I mean, there's so much goodwill for Douglas and even though this was a difficult time politically, and I came in after that, there was still so much goodwill and interest in our success. So if not for that, it would have been impossible. But I had very good counsel internally and externally, and when I went to the administration, the upper administration, I got what I needed to move the college forward. So if I didn't feel that there was that support for women's education in Douglas, it would have been very difficult.
Douglas had such a reputation as a feminist place.
Right.
Women's gender studies
right.
began here. So to have it disappear, I remember when we interviewed Mary Hartman, she said it was really sad to sort of see that identity sort of get lost, but how do you maintain
I don't think the identity is lost in any way. I think that the structure of Douglas It started as New Jersey College for Women, Douglas College, no faculty after 1980, so it was faculty fellows, and now it's the residential college is actually a misnomer. But there's no loss, frankly. It's a difference. And our enrollment, the level of identification of students with Douglas today is better than before the transformation. So what was most important in the transformation is that we retained an institution for women's education, that it wasn't a campus for women's education, that we hoped there would be the right interventions and the right programs. The most important decision made was to keep some sort of an institution, and today we call it the residential college. But it is not a loss. I mean, if there was any loss to the college, the major loss was the consolidation of the faculty into one arts and sciences that happened in '80. So let me put it this way. It's not a loss when you balance what we've gained.
What have we gained?
We have gained, students have gained, any undergraduate woman at Rutgers has gained the opportunity to enroll in Douglas, regardless of her academic school. So we have pharmacists and business and engineers and environmental scientists and history majors and English majors and classics majors. So they all enroll and they co-enroll in Douglas, in a program for the advancement and success of women. So we have gained Rutgers. That's what I think we have gained. And it was my belief that the way for this institution to succeed was to become more and more integrated into Rutgers. So we have partnerships with the School of Engineering, the School of Arts and Science, the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences, and now we're working on the School of Business. So that's what we've gained. Where our students are all over the university. Our programs are integrated all over the university. We have an honors college program. And that's the beauty, that we have a small college environment for women within this large university. And I think that got ratcheted up with the transformation of undergraduate education. And with, quite frankly, my contention that the future, the survival, the success of Douglas required deeper and deeper ties to Rutgers units that were outside of Douglas. And that has enriched us enormously. So in my view, we've gained a tremendous advantage by being better integrated. And our students bring a tremendous amount because they're everywhere. So they come here. And we learn about programs and institutions. And now we can go out and move around among them. So I think there was that capacity before. I think that's, I don't know to what extent the college was partnering with other colleges. And, actually, I don't know. But what I think we have...
It was a separate faculty, I think, so it was very difficult, probably.
Well, there was, arts and science was well, there were faculty fellows. See, there haven't been faculty here, true faculty, since 1980. And what substituted for that were faculty fellows. They decided in some requirements, they admitted, there was an admission process and a graduation process. And, but it wasn't a true faculty since 1980.
Got it, okay. You said that residential college was a misnomer. Why?
Because most of our students don't live on this campus at any one time. I mean, maybe a quarter of our students. So that's, but we have programs that attract our students from off campus. We have true commuter students on Bush, Cook, Livingston, and College Avenue. So we specialize in residential programming. So living learning communities and co-curricular learning that takes place outside of the classroom. So in that sense, it's one of our specialty areas. But we have, for example, we have students on the Bush campus, we have students in the Honors College, Where else do we have? I think that's it for now. And then students anywhere they want to live. So,
So then what keeps it from being a student life thing, like a center for students?
well, I think we're a hybrid between student life and student development and academic life and academic development. You know, and my goal, and our staff is excellent, is sort of integrating these. So we just talked today about our new Bold Center for career leadership and personal enrichment. And we're developing a program with the Silicon Valley to place our technology students into some of the startups and some of the established companies out there. And then we talked about, well, but they need an understanding of what globalization means, what Silicon Valley is, what the impact of information technology and social justice issues. So that's how we teach. We're not just, let's get your resume written and get you ready for an interview, but we're going to teach you something about the world in a different context. I think that brings learning alive for students. And, you know, I'm not against the disciplines or anything, but, you know, it brings learning alive. So we have our residential programs, many of them have a curricular component. So students are taking a class that they're getting credit for, and they're learning about human rights or public health or medicine or business. So we really bring them together. I think that's what's also fabulous about our model, is you can't pigeonhole us. It's both a tremendous advantage and benefit, and it's a kind of difficulty because, well, what are you? What is Douglas today? What is Douglas today? It's an academic, it's a leadership, it's a personal enrichment program for women to help them develop their aspirations and success and dreams. And above all, it's a community. Above all, it's the students themselves who link to each other, who care for each other, who support each other. We just had our commencement, and you just see that. That's what it's about. So the students, you know, we offer the programs, the students make them right for them.
There's a first-year class that they take called Knowledge and Power.
Right.
Talk about what that is.
Well, that class it's a women's and gender studies class, and it's required of every Douglas student. And it essentially introduces students to the major thinkers in feminist academic thought and feminist and womanist thought in the U.S., and the leading thinkers in examining globalization and its implications for women. So the course is designed to really sensitize students to how gender functions in their lives and in the world around them, in intersection with sexuality and race and region and ethnicity and faith. So it's very interesting. I was looking at the teaching evaluations, and when we asked, did you have an interest in this topic before you took the class, it was like in the 3s, right? And the highest level is a 5. So by the time they leave, your interest in the course is 4.5. So we just completely turn their minds around by saying, by talking to them about, look at the status, look at the opportunities, look at the accomplishments of women.
So did that course start when you came?
No, that course has been around for a really long time. Shaping a Life, which is I love that title. Yeah.
I do too. I
love
was
that.
Wondering, so what's the shift?
Well, I actually think, and I don't know for sure, but I think it changed to Knowledge and Power that grew out of a Foucauldian analysis of how important power is for the construction of knowledge and the creation of social structures and limitations. But I think what happened was that the course changed when DRC was developed to move more toward the major theoretical thinkers. And it is my sense, like Foucault. And when I came...
So it's not just, I don't think of Foucault
No, I don't either. But I think that he was on the syllabus. But I think partly to establish what are we talking about when we're talking about knowledge and power. But I actually really pulled away from that a little bit because I find that some of the material is just not accessible to first-year students. I think having some is fine, but too much, So we pulled away from that, and we have a very good course now, and we're even revising it again. So it's very popular. It changes lives. Many of our students who take that course go on to major in women's and gender studies, which is it's great. Or become IWL scholars.
That's great. Talk about the IWL and the role that Douglas College assumes in it.
When I first got here, the police department very generously invited me to come for a briefing. And I have been in women's studies and for my whole life. And even as a department chair, there were a lot of men, but there were women. But I sat down at this table, all men, and, with guns. And I said, wow, I haven't been anything like this ever. So now when I go into a room with all women, it's just, that's the way it is. Right. When there's a lot of men in there, I'm like, what's going on here? But anyway, the role, Douglas is the primary educational unit of all the IWL units. I mean, all of them have some educational component, and we send our students, and our students take tremendous advantage of them. COP has tremendous opportunities.
I'm sorry.
Center for American Women in Politics. We had a course running with the Center for Women's Global Leadership. The IWL Scholars is a popular course. The WINGS program, which pairs mentors from corporations with undergraduate women, minority women. We're developing a new partnership there. So, we have 2,400 students. We have a lot of students who take advantage of everything there.
You said you were developing these mentorships. So, what's the sales pitch? How do you start?
Well, Douglas has its own, and we're developing a new one with Connie Ellis from the WINGS program. I'll tell you what the pitch is for any of these. We have tremendously smart students, and corporations, as they've gotten to know us and as they work with Connie, they know that, and they want to recruit these women. So we have relationships with AT&T and Verizon and PSEG, for example, and they want to come and meet our students and find the best of the best. We have, the most diverse student body at Rutgers, and they're brilliant. We have, tremendously high Phi Beta Kappa rate, you heard that. And we have a tremendous STEM program. So that's, you don't even have to pitch it because they know they need a more diverse workforce because of this problem in the pipeline. So they're very generous in supporting our programs and in looping our students into internships and visits and role models and mentoring.
Talk to me about the Dell program,
the Riley Delk program.
Sorry.
The Riley Douglas Engineering Living Learning Community.
Cool. What is that?
So that is a community that Douglas and the School of Engineering developed 4 years ago to support the recruitment and retention of women in undergraduate engineering, which is, it works where students enroll in the School of Engineering and then as their academic home, and then they enroll in Douglas, and we have dormitory space on the engineering campus, on Bush campus. And every student there takes our Knowledge and Power course, that's what it's called now, and they're a course just for the women in engineering explorations. So they learn about the different disciplines, they meet the women faculty, which has been growing over the years with very good leadership there. And they really go through their first year of engineering as a community, as a cohort. And then what was great about it was at the end of their first year, we didn't really know, we thought it would be a first year program. At the end of the first year, the students came to us and said, we want to live together again. So, because they were all living together, so we got fabulous dormitory space, and then they moved in there, and then they're more or less living together. I think we have 107 students in it now.
Is it in one dorm?
Well, the first year's in one dorm, an all engineering dorm, and then the rest of the years is in a interdisciplinary dorm.
But they're all on the same floor? Because I was trying to figure out.
The first year, they're all on the same floor.
Okay.
And then when we moved in the second year, we've clustered them as well. So I think that we try to cluster them as much as possible. And we have graduate student mentors, advisors from engineering, advisors from Douglas. We have PSE&G, for example, takes visits and takes our students on tours, so we have tremendous engagement with them. The Society for Women Engineers is very involved. And essentially what we have 107 students enrolled in our program, but we've become, in a sense, available and accessible to all the students in engineering. So, you know, they may not get exactly the same things, but we're part of a larger movement in the School of Engineering, and to really support women. And these women say they would not have, they had a bad enough experience in high school. So we got a National Science Foundation grant to replicate that in computer science. So we're working with the School of Arts and Science and the Center for Discrete Mathematics and the Department of Computer Science, and that house will open in the fall, again, on the Bush campus. Yes, it's been such a success, so we were very excited to get the grant, and we're hopeful, you know, computer science is different, obviously, but we're hopeful that we can see the success rates and the retention rates.
They don't seem the same to me.
Well, I'll tell you what's different. The structure's different because the students are in the School of Engineering, and that there's a commonality there that students in a department in the School of Arts and Sciences won't have. You know, I think we'll see how it plays out. But there's something about being in engineering in a school and having applied to a school of engineering, getting accepted to a school, having an identity as an engineer is different than intending to major in computer science, right? And we have to see how identity develops and community and commonality develops. I think it's a slightly different challenge. I think it will be tremendous, but we can't assume, you know, we're just, it's the same, it can be the same program because the structure is completely different.
I was looking at the Rutgers strategic plan, like the 2016 to 2020, like what we're going to become, and there were pictures of women all over the brochure. But as I read the words, I didn't see the word woman. And I'm wondering what that says about your way forward, the way forward that you have to.
I think to some extent it's considered a settled question. We're 51% women. What is the issue of women's education? And I think that Douglas serves a role on this campus to keep bringing that up. We're not done. Look at the distribution of women in majors. You know, look at the gap between gender and according to gender participation in class. I mean, look at the chilly climate that women might face in some contexts, not everywhere. So I think it's frankly considered settled. So I think that's a lot of what was going on there. The Associate Alumni of Douglas College raised money for a new building for our global learning programs, and the university matched that by twice.
Okay, 2-to-1 match. Okay.
Essentially. And so that building is opening in September. We're working on a new renovation project for our Center for Career and Leadership Development. The university is supporting that. So there, you know, I can't read the strategic plan and say, well, they're not supporting women's education, because they are supporting. There is support for women's education.
And it doesn't say to you that I have to be more forceful or more forthright.
Oh, we have to be out there. We have to be, you know, reminding folks that, for better or worse, we're not finished. As I say, it's, you know, we're not finished.
How much did you know about Douglas when you first came in 2010? I mean, when you look back at the milestones, what would you consider the milestones of the school?
I think it's the first institution of, first college for women in a public institution. I have known about the esteemed faculty who have taught here. I taught them when I was teaching all the time. And I knew, of course, about the Institute for Women's Leadership and how important it is to have a partnership among entities to build greater strength among all of us. I did not know a lot of the politics. I did not.
What is the story of how Douglas College was founded?
So the story was that the New Jersey State Federation of Women's Clubs, which really emerged out of the club movement, took it upon themselves to start a committee to explore public education for women in New Jersey. And they asked Mabel Smith Douglas to serve on the committee. So our founders were really the New Jersey State Federation of Women's Clubs, and they and she raised they had a $1 subscription campaign to fund the college. There was also a renewal of the Land Grant Act at this time, and there was, I believe, a negotiation with the School of Agriculture to develop a home economics program, which is what the land grant funding was for. And and then they received gifts. I think, well, the first building was this building. I think they received gifts a little bit later, but essentially, Mabel Smith Douglas then bought a building from the College of Agriculture. So she started with 54 students, which is a lot, in 1918. But it was really founded. It was a grassroots. It wasn't a benefactor coming in and saying, "We're founding this." It was grassroots from the club movement and grassroots in this dollar campaign.
I was sort of thinking, as I was talking to Barry and reading the history, that this Douglas as an institution has been so defined as an institution in struggle, not really struggle against a patriarchal institution, but trying to figure out a way to make its way.
Yes. In an institution that, at different eras will have different ideas about women's education. So as I say now, I believe it's considered a settled issue. I think in 1916 and 17, why are we educating women? Why, right? So there are different eras and different struggles and different issues. And that's the magic of this place. The miracle of Douglas is that it's always sort of moving slightly against, but within an institution that's not sure what to make of it. And if not for the talent of the leadership over all these years, I don't know where we'd be. But it's a fascinating process because my attitude is there's goodwill and support, and you might find an individual who's like, "Oh, what's that for?" Right? But and that the struggle changes again as the times change, and it's better to conceive of this as a collaboration, and that it's our job as the leader of this, college, to make sure that the collaboration is going to work. And sometimes you look at the history and some of the collaborations between the college deans and the presidents of Rutgers you don't like, because they're against values that we would believe in, and sometimes the collaborations are tremendous. So it's a moving process, and that's what is so fabulous, because anything is possible. Anything is possible.
So what is going on right now with the AAD, whatever the Association? What is that battle about?
Well, I think that they have been a very important organization that supported Douglas for many, many years. Many women's colleges, very interestingly, developed independent alumni associations early on because men served as presidents and board members. So it was in part an attempt to wrest some control from the men around women's colleges. And over the years, most of those independent alumni associations have been incorporated into the college itself. And the fundraising function has been incorporated into the college itself. So it's been a very interesting phenomenon that, that's gone on as women's colleges are controlled more and more by women. But this particular situation is, there's a very long, important history and long and important contribution of this alumni association to the students at Douglas. And for various reasons, we, the university and Douglas, decided that we needed to look at the relationship, make sure it fit with what DRC is now. We're not Douglas College, right? We're something very different, and find a way to move forward together with some new parameters.
And they're not happy with that.
I think we're in it's just an ongoing conversation, right?
Yeah.
And
I know as a Radcliffe alumni, when Radcliffe became part of Harvard, well, part of what happened was people stopped giving to Radcliffe.
right,
Because a lot of us had married Harvard men, not me, but many of my classmates. And so what happened was Harvard was getting the money, Radcliffe didn't get the money anymore, and I think there was a fear here that without an independent association, how do we ensure that there's going to be a Douglas a generation from now for anybody to be getting any money?
well, we have a fundraising operation, and by law, any money, and by practice, we've been getting money through the Rutgers University fundraising entity, that's the Rutgers Foundation, for years. So any money that is, any gift that is sent through the Rutgers Foundation comes right to us immediately.
But it has to be earmarked Douglas? Or?
Oh, yeah, that's right. And it is, and they are. I mean, I just got a report yesterday. I mean, just pages and pages and pages of donations. Most people, very few people would give to Rutgers completely unrestricted. They give for department or athletics or the new medical complex. So what our donors do is they go to our website, or they respond and they just click Douglas, and they click global programs or leadership development, whatever they want to give to at Douglas. Right.
So are you banking on the women who graduate from the DELP program, the Art Riley DELP program?
Yes.
And the women who come through, who are now in the Douglas residential colleges, those are the women that you're banking on to be the alumni of the future who will keep this
Absolutely, and they will. But we're also have a very strong relationship with alumni who graduated from Douglas College and some from New Jersey College for Women. So we're raising funds for student programs from them. So, these are the DRC students are young alumni. We just had a senior class gift, and they did very well. And they understand the importance of philanthropy. They understand that there's a lot of gift money through the associate alumni and through Rutgers that is gift money that comes through to support their programs. And I think that our current students will give back to us, right? So, but we're fundraising from every year, every graduating year, every time period. The donors see that we're tremendously successful, and the students are. It's the students. The students are getting so much out of it, and so many of our donors want to give students the opportunity to succeed as they had. So they're following the success. They're really excited, and they want to give so that, and they're paying it forward because a lot of them came on scholarships. It's always been a school for women who were really super smart, but maybe couldn't afford Smith, right? And even today, right?
Especially today.
Especially
Probably
today,
more important now than it's ever been.
right? Oh, yeah.
I was really impressed with the young women that I met here. I have to tell you, it's just like they're all like, God, wish you could be my student.
I know, there's something. And people around the university, I even had a physician tell me in student health, I always know when it's a Douglas woman. You know, it doesn't matter. It could be faculty. Who was a physician the other day who said that. And there is something about a woman who decides to enroll and then who participates as a kind of puffing up that happens. It's really spectacular. I believe that women supporting women is the energy here. I think we create programs to support that, encourage that, model that. I think I think that the women who enroll are inclined that way, and then we have programs that allow them to practice that, so that we have so many leadership opportunities.
What do you mean when you say leadership opportunities?
So we have student groups where the students essentially run them. And these are really important groups, like our tour guides, for example, who give tours. You know, these are student run. So and this is, you know, big job. They get paid. This is very serious for the university and for us. And when I go to their meetings, they're both structured, and it's clear who the president is and who the board is, but there's just a lot of fun, a lot of community, a lot of support. So we make sure that we're structuring in these opportunities for women to lead, for women to be part of communities, the engineering learning community. Our first year residence hall is all about community building. So we build that in. I think it's a combination of the student who comes to us and the programs we build and the women-only space, which you can't reproduce. You can create other kinds of communities in a co-educational space. So the staff involvement, it models that. It models community. But the other thing I can say is when you talk to the engineering students, they talk about the importance of their relationships among each other for their resilience. Again and again, all our data show, all our conversations show that that's what got them through. You know, there's research that if men get a C+, that's all right, I'll go on to the next. You know, there's a wonderful scholar, Linda Sachs, out in California. If a woman gets a C+, I can't do it. I don't know if I should do it. Should I leave? Right. So this community kind of raises the level of resilience. So, you know, they're encouraged to encourage each other to stick through it. It's like having a teenage kid. You can teach him or her whatever you want. It's the peers who make so much of the difference. And that's very much true among our students. It's these student connections. We can only go so far, but they carry it through.
So it's a peer-to-peer.
Absolutely.
You're a sociologist by training.
Right.
Did you study this kind of thing? Has this been your field of academic study?
No. I've always studied communities, particularly among poor women, and the importance of community literally for survival. But I haven't studied it in higher education, no.
Have you found it translates easily?
Absolutely. I mean, without community, I don't know how to put this. You know, all of our possibilities and dreams come through our relationships, and all of our failures get fixed through relationships, and I don't mean one-on-one. I mean in communities of service to each other, and that's what Douglas is. That's really what it is, and it's the students who do it for each other. There's no structure for Livingston College now. There's no dean, there's no advisor. That was completely closed, like Rutgers College. Douglas has a structure, and that's what I was talking about, the importance of having an institution to carry on the mission of women's education. But no other college really enjoyed that benefit.
So Douglas was able to fight hard enough to keep you, or your position.
Yeah, right. But an institution, that's right, with supported salary lines, with property, you know, real estate, with a separate designation, right.
How were they able to do that?
Well, I think the alumni fought very hard. I think, you know, I think there were a number of faculty who fought very hard to keep an institution. The dean at the time, Carmen Ambar Twilley, was very strong and, had a vision of recognizing the change was happening, but what can we put in place? But there was a tremendous committee with Barry Qualls and Linda Stamato, Leah Stewart. These were faculty and administrators who were visionary and deeply committed to women's education, and who put this proposal together, and the faculty accepted it, and then the president accepted it. So it was grassroots, but it was also, there was a team of faculty on this committee that envisioned this model, and it's stronger than it has been really for decades. The model is stronger.
Right. The women had a support network even then.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Douglas now does have transgender students?
Yes. So I tend to refer mostly to Douglas students, not Douglas women, except to the, so essentially we accept, any student who identifies as a woman is welcome to enroll in Douglas. I think that I want to emphasize the importance of the racial and ethnic diversity here, because it's also it's striking.
40% international. What is the?
Oh, at Rutgers, maybe I don't know. I think at Douglas, the international population is not as high as at Rutgers. Maybe it's 5 or 6%, but our African American population is higher. In the aggregate, our underrepresented minorities are higher than I think most other segments of Rutgers in total. Out of our census this year, 34% of our students classify themselves as Caucasian. So we're really lucky that we are attracting a diverse student body and that our students feel empowered. And that's a strategic priority of ours going forward, to make sure that while we want to be sure while we have the demographics, that we have the programs and the interactions and the kind of the point that our commencement speaker was referring to about what she called social diversity, that we're really moving the needle in that area too. But I guess I just want to say that this is one of the most important.
I have a wonderful shot of the class walking by, and you just see it on their faces.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. One of the IWL board members had said to me at one point, well, the last time I was sitting in the board chair, that this 20 minutes that I'm supposed to make out of these 10 hours of interviews.
Oh my gosh.
It's really about the future of women's higher education. And sort of, since you're in the catbird seat, so to speak, looking out at that, what is the future? I mean, is there still a need for women's?
Well, there is. I mean, the model of the freestanding women's college is so important. It's so important, and I'm so happy that we still have about 40 or 50 in the United States. They're growing around the world, especially in India. But we've really been reduced here in the United States, and we are a majority in undergraduate education across the country. But there are still issues around equity and access, especially for women of color, that we're not finished with. So we need, no improvement around women's education will happen without interventions and attention. It's just the way of the world, like everything else. And we're lucky at Rutgers to have an institution that's devoted specifically to this. That's what's so amazing, to be a symbolic reminder all the time that we need to still pay attention here. We might think it's settled, and it's subtle, but we need to continue paying attention and some women are more advantaged than others. That's the other thing, and that's what we're very attuned to here at Douglas. that there's great disparities and inequalities among women. So we're certainly not anywhere near finished with that. So, I have great hope in the future of women's education at Rutgers, and I think the model that we use here is the most sustainable model across the country. And as I'm called upon to advise schools that are going co-ed, for example, what can we do? This is the model they can use. And in public universities.
What's the biggest obstacle we have to overcome in order to get there
What's the biggest obstacle?
for women's institutions of higher education?
Well, the obstacle there is just there are 1 to 2% of high school students want to go to a freestanding women's college. There's just, the demographics are problematic.
And what's the biggest obstacle you face here at Rutgers?
As I say, I think there's an assumption that the issue is settled, that, they're women in majority and we're kind of done. And I think the reminder that let's look at this again. Let's do a deeper dive, see what's happening to the women, see what's happening to, the disparities among women here, and really dig in. I think that's an issue. It just doesn't rise to the top as it might, because we're the majority of the population, and our faculties are more diverse than they were.
So within this Rutgers strategic goals thing that we were talking about earlier, you said the issue was settled, but now you're saying that it's not quite settled. There's nuance.
I think there's an assumption that it's settled.
Again, you are overlapping.
Okay. You think that
So when I said before it was settled, what I mean to say is the assumption is that it's a settled issue, that we've come this far, that with majority women, there doesn't seem to necessarily be specific obstacles that might require specific solutions. I mean, I think that's what I was saying about the strategic plan. On the other hand, the resources that they're giving to Douglas, or that this administration and prior administrations have given, would seem to indicate we understand that there's work you have to do. So nothing's there's.
So what kind of resources do you need to address the socioeconomic and the other disparities that you're in, the diverse, the
We
racial and
need to be able to, we need tuition support, and we are raising money for that, and the university is raising money for that. And we need to be able to differentiate the student who could not do an internship in a science lab over the summer because she had to work to support her household, from the student who could, sure, you don't have to earn money, or earn a little bit of money, and that's your fun money for the year. And so what we've done at Douglas is we've been very intentional about raising money. We don't do a means test necessarily because we pretty much know our population. Most of our population needs this. To raise money so that students can forego work, earn a stipend, and have an educational experience. To me, that's a leveler. Do you understand what I mean? So, okay, if Susie Q's family is, working class, middle class, they're not reliant on her income. So one leveler is to give the students who couldn't afford the opportunities, for example, to forego summer employment, right? They would have to give them a stipend to do research over the summer. That, to me, is a way to start closing the gap. Mm-hmm. So sort of pay attention to where economic privilege comes into play. And see if we can move students up there. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. Our so many of our alums came here and relied on support from the school. And they are committed to seeing that our students succeed. And when we talk to them about we need to get our students overseas, our students sometimes haven't left New Jersey. So we're getting, donors who pay for international travel, or to pay for these summer stipends, or to pay for a week in Washington, D.C., who could not do it on their own. This is what our donors want to give to, because they want these students to have the opportunities, not exactly the opportunities they had, but the opportunities now they need to succeed. It's been amazing how excited our alumni are about these programs, and really about the students.